Small change of regulation regarding the braking system. I would like to know if you think this will affect the performance on the Red Bull's car.
Not at all, no.
The wait is over. After a break that felt like an eternity, we're back in full force for the second half of the season. And what a return it is. We're heading straight to the dunes of Zandvoort, the home of the current champion Max Verstappen. But hold on, because there's a lot happening behind the scenes that will make this return to the track even more electrifying. McLaren has arrived with guns blazing, bringing an update package that promises to shake up the grid. On the other side, we have Mercedes, who finally seems to have found the right direction. Hamilton and Russell are sharper than ever. Before diving into the news, let's take a look at the current championship standings. In the team battle, Red Bull Racing continues to lead with 408 points, but the advantage that once seemed unshakable is now starting to shrink. McLaren is right behind with 366 points, showing an impressive recovery in the first half of the season. Ferrari completes the top three with 345 points, followed closely by Mercedes with 266. In the Drivers' Championship, Max Verstappen remains on top with 277 points, but the competition is heating up. McLaren's Lando Norris occupies the second position with 199 points, followed by Ferrari's Charles Leclerc with 177. The fight is fierce, with Oscar Piastri and Carlos Sainz completing the top five, both surpassing the 160-point mark. What's striking about this scenario is how quickly things have changed in the last few races. Red Bull, which seemed unbeatable at the start of the season, now faces much stiffer competition. McLaren and Mercedes have made significant progress, while Ferrari tries to recover from some questionable decisions in car development. Speaking of development, let's take a closer look at what's happening with the top teams. Starting with Red Bull, things aren't as smooth as the beginning of the season made it seem. According to inside information, the latest update packages haven't delivered the expected results. In fact, some say that certain changes have even hurt the car's performance. Sergio Perez, in his recent statements, mentioned that the team identified some problems during the summer break. "There were one or two upgrades that took us in the wrong direction," said the Mexican driver. This explains why Red Bull's advantage over the rest of the grid seems to have diminished considerably in recent races. On the flip side, we have McLaren arriving in Zandvoort with a series of promising updates. The British team announced 6 significant changes to the MCL38, including modifications to the front and rear suspension, floor, and rear wing. Lando Norris is confident that these improvements can bring McLaren even closer to Red Bull. Mercedes isn't lagging behind in this development race either. After recent victories, the team seems to have found the right path. George Russell mentioned that the latest updates brought a performance gain greater than seen in any other team. Lewis Hamilton and Russell are excited about the prospects for the second half of the season, believing they can regularly be in the fight for wins. As for Ferrari, the Italian team is in a delicate situation. After a promising start to the season, including Leclerc's victory in Monaco, the introduction of updates in Barcelona seems to have destabilized the car. Charles Leclerc admitted that the team is working hard to understand and solve the problems, but doesn't expect major immediate changes in Zandvoort. Speaking of changes that can affect performance, let's take a look at the technical and regulatory news that's stirring up the paddock. McLaren, as we've mentioned, arrived with everything in Zandvoort. The team brought 6 significant updates to the MCL38, among them a new brake air intake, modifications to the front and rear suspension, as well as changes to the floor and rear wing. All these alterations aim to improve airflow and, consequently, increase the car's downforce. Red Bull, on the other hand, opted for a more conservative approach. The team brought only 2 performance updates, on the halo and mirror supports, and 1 circuit-specific update, on the engine cover. It seems the team is more focused on optimizing what they already have than on bringing major innovations. But the technical change that's causing a stir didn't come from any particular team. The FIA made a change to the technical regulations, banning asymmetric braking systems. This change was made just before the summer break and generated a lot of discussion behind the scenes. Interestingly, when asked about this change, Max Verstappen limited himself to a curt "absolutely not" when asked if he'd like to comment on the matter. This raises questions about how this change might affect Red Bull's performance, which many believed was using this type of system. Another technical novelty that caught attention was the introduction of an aerodynamic profile next to the halo on the Red Bull. Interestingly, the team seems to have drawn inspiration from Ferrari's famous Cobra, although with some differences in implementation. All these technical and regulatory changes show how F1 is constantly evolving. Teams are always looking for that extra edge, either through car updates or exploring loopholes in the regulations. And with the FIA always vigilant, the cat-and-mouse game between teams and regulators continues. Now let's talk about something that always stirs up Formula One's backstage, the driver market. And this time, we have some interesting confirmations for next season. The most recent news is the confirmation of Jack Doohan at Alpine for 2025. The young Australian, who is currently the team's reserve driver, will make his F1 debut alongside Pierre Gasly. This decision marks an important moment, as Doohan will be the first driver to graduate from the team's academy to a full-time seat. Oliver Oakes is excited about Doohan's arrival. He highlighted the young driver's talent and the importance of having a well-balanced driver lineup, combining young energy with experience. Now, let's take a look at what the leading drivers are saying about their expectations for this second half of the season. And we start with the man of the moment, Max Verstappen, who arrives home for his 200th Grand Prix in Formula One. It's hard to believe that at just 26 years old, Max has already reached this impressive milestone. Verstappen, always straightforward, admitted that this could be his most difficult home race since Zandvoort returned to the calendar in 2021. He recognizes that there are many more teams involved in the fight for victory now, which makes the challenge even greater. Interestingly, Max also spoke about his future in F1. He mentioned that he's already passed the halfway point of his career and doesn't see himself competing in another 200 races. With a contract until 2028 with Red Bull, Verstappen seems to be thinking about a horizon of about 4 years for his F1 career. A statement that certainly gives food for thought about the future of the sport. Moving on to Lando Norris, the McLaren driver is full of confidence. With the new updates on the car, Norris believes they can really challenge Red Bull. This confidence from McLaren is a direct reflection of the progress the team has made since the start of the season. Mercedes' Lewis Hamilton and George Russell are also optimistic. Russell mentioned that the team's latest updates were a bigger step than any other team managed. Hamilton, for his part, seems renewed and ready to fight for more victories. The Mercedes duo believes they now have a car capable of regularly competing at the top. And what about you? Who are your favorites to shine in this second half of the season? Leave your predictions for the Dutch GP and the rest of the championship in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. That way you won't miss any updates about the world of Formula One. We'll see you after the checkered flag in Zandvoort.